Well, our interest is mainly threefold. The first one is we really have a genuine interest in helping countries to understand their natural resources, especially the forests, to manage those resources in a sustainable way, to be able to monitor the way their resources are being managed, and to be able to inform their local decisions or their national decisions, and the world in general about what is happening in their country with respect, especially to forests. Also, I think just in general, we have an interest in understanding the condition at a global level of forests in particular, but all other land uses and land cover, and the changes that are occurring in these land uses and land covers over time. And we hope to do that from a bottom-up approach, so allowing all the countries of the world allowing all the countries of the world to tell us what they have in terms of their natural resources, and then we can assemble that on a global level and understand at a global level what's actually occurring to those land uses and land covers. The Forestry Department of the FAO has been working closely for the last several years with the government of Norway through their funding of some of our projects. Most recently, to improve the access, to speed up the access, the processing, the transparency, and the repeatability of the processing of satellite imagery, which is commonly used around the world in countries for monitoring forests and land use change. We're trying to make those steps easier to do, to lower the barriers of entry, to allow much quicker access to data that is available, to make the processing of those data much more easy, and to allow countries to analyze to take on the very complicated process of data analysis in an autonomous way, repeatedly over time, and allow the production of results much more quickly. Also to allow the sharing of these results, the sharing of the methods between countries, the sharing of the data between countries, and to start to facilitate those discussions not only between us and them, but between themselves, like between countries themselves, and try to facilitate that exchange. And Norway has been instrumental in allowing us to do that through the creation of our tools. So the FAO has created tools, as you mentioned, called a suite of tools for forest inventory, forest monitoring, called the Open Forest, I guess, just punto. And within that suite of tools, we have it's all open source. It's all freely downloadable, freely modifiable. We have tools for forest inventories, so field data collection. We have tools for data analysis. We have tools for sample-based assessment of high-resolution satellite images. We have tools for just general image processing, so satellite image processing and map creation. We have tools for processing radar data, all sorts of different remotely sensed data sets. And all that is part of the Open Forest suite, and it's all freely available online at our website, openforest.org. As part of this as part of this initiative to make things easier, to lower the burden, yes, we moved a lot of our processing to the computer cloud, the cloud up there. Yeah, there are different brand names for the cloud, but the point is that we're moving our processing and the heavy lifting, so to speak, into this cloud, so that that does at least two things. One, it eliminates one of the big hurdles for, especially in places where the internet, we all depend on the internet, but where the internet doesn't work so well or so fast, or even where it does work fast actually, it takes a long time to download data from like a satellite image from where it is stored to your desktop, let's say. That step alone can take quite a long time and adds a lot of time to the analysis. If we remove that burden of the download of the full data set to your desktop, we put that in the cloud. We have the big computers with the fast pipelines between each other, talking to each other. That download happens in the cloud. It doesn't come to your desktop. You can do it in a matter of seconds or minutes as opposed to hours or days. And you can start processing that much more quickly. The second thing working in the cloud does is allows software as a service, I guess. So we can, as FAO, we can establish a set of services that our cloud-based processing performs. We can upgrade those services. We have to do it once, and it's done. It's not something that has to be done 300, 400, 500 times. We do it once. We maintain it once. Those updates are immediately available to the users on the other side. And it's just much more efficient that way. By the same token, we have methods, processing chains that are available in the cloud. They're there. Everybody can see them. Everybody can use them. They can use them as they want to. They can modify them to fit their local needs and share them instantly in the cloud. And those sorts of things, I think, really make it, one, it makes it less confusing to the end user. It makes it less, once you get used to the cloud-based processing, it makes it less frightening to start, or less intimidating to start the processing. And in the end, I think it really speeds it up. I mean, with the increase in processing power we have with cloud-based storage and processing, with the strength now of Google Earth Engine, these sorts of things are changing dramatically the way we do our work. And what used to take, say, many months or years to do, we can do much more quickly now, a matter of weeks. And that's good news, because we get to an answer a lot more quickly than we could before. Or we fail, but we fail much more quickly than we did before. So even that's a benefit. I think that if we could reasonably go into the field and survey every part of the earth every time, every year, if we could know personally every tree, every bit of soil, I think that would be a wonderful thing if we could do that. But I think, unfortunately, that's not practical. So we turn to these data sets we have that allow us to see every part of the earth in a systematic way. That's a good thing, but we absolutely have to be able to tie that to what's truth, or what's on the ground, the characteristics of the Earth's surface. And if we don't have the field information, what they call the gold standard or the truth, then we don't have any way to calibrate these things that were the numbers basically that we're seeing in the satellite image to what's actually happening on the ground. It's absolutely critical that we have that ground-based component. And like I said, I think if we could realistically do it, that's all we would need would be the ground-based component. But we can't do it fast enough, cost-effectively enough, and over a large enough area repeatedly. So we use the satellite data where we can. I would also like to say something about cost regarding the software and the satellite data. A lot of the costs have shifted to, so the cost for providing the satellite data, for instance, has shifted to the space agencies and the agencies that distribute those data, not anymore on the consumer of those data, at least for some of the most common data sets. Likewise, the open source software, in the case of FAO, our open source system, we take on the cost of producing the tools and maintaining the tools so that the countries don't have to, or that the users don't have to. And I guess all of the open source software systems sort of do that. And that's a big shift in how it's been done in the past too. I don't know where it's going to go, but that's what we do. Anyway, yes. The point, though, is that field data is extremely important, and we can't do without it. So I don't know the future, but I presume that we will know more every day, and we will know exponentially more, every day than we did the day before, sort of. We depend on, I will say we depend on the space agencies right now. So the fact that the United States and their policy of continuous observations with Landsat, for instance, we kind of take that for granted, I think. We have to remember that is not something to take for granted, that in order to have a future like we have had in the past, we need to ensure that those observations continue. So hopefully the Landsat data or Landsat-like program continues. The same with the Sentinel, the newly launched Sentinel data sets. Those sorts of things continue because we're learning a lot from this. We're learning so much from the historical archive of data now that we have. So we'll continue to learn more from the data already from the past. That has not been nearly exhausted. So in the future, we'll still be learning from the past. I imagine we'll go higher spatial resolution, higher temporal frequency, assuming again that the satellite providers continue to launch the satellites. We'll go with different, there's the new missions that are being planned are very exciting. So different ways of learning about the Earth's surface or new characteristics. So we'll use radar or active data from active sensors quite a lot more, radar data, LiDAR data, large area coverage of these things that we haven't had before. And I hope it, and at the same time, the computing power to process these data sets will obviously increase. And I hope it means that we put aside some of these questions we've been asking for the last 20 years or whatever, 30 years, and move on to start to all agree on a certain level of these basic questions and can move into these very more detailed questions, but more, not only on an experimental basis, but applying these things that we know from very small areas, but applying them globally to understand more about, to get more precision about what is exactly happening on the Earth's surface.